Good evening. Welcome to the 90th episode of Sri Lanka's first LinkedIn Live talk show. And you may ask me why this particular LinkedIn Live talk show named Cinnamon Chat with Amithe. Few months ago, when I got LinkedIn Live to myself, I decided to come and add value to my network, and then I was doing it all by myself for a few weeks, and then I realized I need to bring in experts to my talk show and get their advice, opinion, information, consultancy to add value to my network. I've got more than 15,000 connections here, and we are also live streaming to Facebook. That's Amithe Gamage's Facebook, also to Amithe Gamage's YouTube channel. So welcome all of you from YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And talking about this talk show, today is the 19th episode. And I decided to have a very special topic with a very special person. And generally, this person is invited for forums to talk completely different subjects. But today, the topic is going to help a lot. What to do when you hit a rock bottom. A lot of people think or have hit a rock bottom, especially with the pandemic. And you need to know what is rock bottom. Once when you hit rock bottom, how to get out of it, how to move forward. So let's introduce the special guest. And she is Dr. Sulochana Sigera. Good evening, Dr. Sulochana.
Good evening, Amithe.
Thank you very much for joining our show to add value to our network, your network and my network both. So,
thank you for inviting.
Yes. There are a lot of questions that we are expecting from the audience, I'm sure, because this is a very timely discussion. So before we talk about rock bottom, I would like to ask a few things about yourself. Generally, we all know you as Dr. Sulochana Sigera, the founder chairperson, Women in Management. Maybe due to the publicity that the organization gets, most of the time people know you more under chairperson women in management. I'm sorry. So before we get into that, let's hear about your childhood, whether you were planning to be like this when you were a kid with your school time and your professional studies and etc.
That's a question I wish. I'm so happy that my mother is not watching this because she's too old to watch this. So if someone who's from my same school or from my same class, they will say they never thought I'll be like this, right? So even I remember when I went back to school wearing a sari, my level teacher was a sir, a male, and I was studying in a convent. He fainted. So it's being like that because I was a tomboy. I was the second in the family. So my brother was very decent boy, right? Because he never went for big matches while I went for big matches. So my sister has been one of the lady type who has got best results, was very obedient daughter, where the black sheep comes in, right? So normally when you have a son, you get a lot of complaints from the neighbors. So in my family, those complaints came about me, right? Where I have challenged a fight with someone like that. And in school, I'm not a bad student where I didn't study. I did my studies very well, but I was not in my class most of the time. I may be on the grounds. I may be doing some sports. So I was a person who did all the, sports. Naughty one. I would say the naughty one, but the happiest child. So I do not have I cannot complain about my child, but a lot of children can complain about me because we were having a chat with my best friend who was in Australia, and she said, now we feel sorry for the friends who actually were in our classmates. So because we were so how to be, it was so disturbing to others, and we got a lot of attention. But one thing to date I have not changed is I ask a lot of questions, and I've been punished for that. And I think my mother never loved to come to for parents teacher meeting, but my father always said let her be the one she wanted to be. And my mother was very scared of me of going ahead with my life, so she said you have to stop all this nonsense and study. So that was who I am, and I'm happy for my childhood because I have a childhood to share. Some people doesn't have, so I'm happy about my childhood.
I can imagine. I can imagine. And then today, Dr. Sulochana, I am going to ask the questions, please. So you are the guest, I am the host.
That's good.
So we have
Normally,
few
I
people,
ask questions.
lot of questions. Yeah, I know. So we have uh, few people who are joining with us. We have Vijita, who's saying, "Good to see you, Sulo." Okay, we have Dean saying hi to us. We have some fans who anyway come and join us, and we have Sudesh saying hi. Hi, Sudesh. Thank you for joining. And Tushara, everyone had naughty times. I can relate it to it. And then Mr. Gonzal, naughty ones are always very good, always.
That's very
Yeah,
true.
yeah, that's true. Yeah. So, luckily this is not, the kids are not watching, only the adults are watching this. And they will say, see, Dr. Sulochana also said to go and do all these things.
I
Anyway,
think you should allow your children to be children.
exactly. So after that, then what happened? I would like to know how you got into. I'm sure you would have got into corporate life, and then before you got into the all this social work and other work, what you do today. So would you like to talk about a little bit about your corporate life, please?
Yeah, so I said I was a different person, and I wanted to do things what others didn't do, and I didn't want to be someone just being living the life. And those concepts were not with me when I was a child, but now I know that those were in my mind. So when I finished my O levels, so at our age we had only two options: go to IDM, then do a diploma in IT, or go to a shorthand typing. Right? I didn't like shorthand typing because there were always an old man who's going to teach, and I never was good enough to learn about it. So I said to my parents that I want to do a job. So my mother said, "You're 16, you are not allowed to do a job." I said, "I can go as a student." So those time I didn't know that students can get it. They were not there. But when I saw on a paper saying walking interview, I said I wanted to go, so I went for the. I didn't know how to face the interview, and I didn't have a
Interview.
CV because what to write for CV? I have not got even my O levels, right? So my father was a journalist. There was an old typewriter with keys which you press it, not the other or typewriter automated. So I typed it somehow, and we didn't have Tipex, right? So we had to blade the whatever this is. So I got my one page, half a page CV, and I went to the interview. And I saw they were looking for a 3 months replacement for a someone who's going on maternity leave. So I never thought I will get, but they liked me, and that was a Dutch company. And they said, "Oh yes, you can work for 3 months," and I really loved it. Why I loved it was that lady was beautiful for us looking at her, and then she had a room, AC room, and she had a computer PC, which at home we didn't had it, and she have a telex machine, and evening she get a Coca-Cola bottle, right? So at that age, it was a privilege. So I never asked for a salary. I started working. And then I thought for a woman, the best job was a secretary. That's why when I finished A level, I started my company secretary course because I thought women should be a secretary and enjoy that perks, right? So I started my chartered secretary. While I was studying, you had to work on a this thing. So it was SSP secretary, which was Coopers and Lybrand Secretariat Services, where I was first working for 2 years. And with age is just 21, then my mother thought better to get her married, because she was very scared of me with my lifestyle, right? And if you ask me whether I had a boyfriend, they call it a boyfriend because I challenge a guy. Everyone normally say okay to me. He said no for me for asking for his books. So that challenge made a commitment, right? I never wrote love letters, but my friends wrote and got gifts. So ultimately, I paid the price of marrying him, right? When I was
Oh,
21. So what happened was, I didn't know what is marriage. I didn't know how to live. I didn't know anything. But I wanted to say yes to my mother, because you cannot say no to a mother. Because my mother was strict, my father was never strict. So my father didn't want me to get married. But after I worked for Coopers and Lybrand, I was never been, I never applied for a job. I was always headhunted for some reason, but I never knew why I was headhunted. But today I know, if you do something extra, you will be always headhunted and you will be always having a job. And when I left my corporate career, I was working for a multinational company for 9 years as the first HRD person, female HRD for 1,100 employees. And then I
of
started my
males,
own, of
1,100
males,
males, males.
1,100 males. And my position has been never filled by a male, and it has been always replaced by a lady. So I think when a woman gets successful, they think every woman gets successful. If a woman get unsuccessful, they say think every woman get unsuccessful. Where there is a gender issue, men are allowed to fail, women are allowed to fail if women allow themselves to fail. So I think women want to be perfect, where I didn't want to be perfect at all, because I'm not a perfect woman.
Nobody's perfect in that sense. Interesting. I mean, I'm definitely going to show this to my 16-year-old son who is sitting for his O levels. Maybe, few days more, so he's little tied up with his studies. As soon as this is over, I'm going to show this and tell, look what a girl has done when she was 16, and not from this era, from that era. Yeah. So thank you for that. So we have a question. Now, I anyway wanted to ask you this question, but then let's say hi to few people. Hi, Johan. Thank you for joining. Deepthi Kumar, nice talk show. And we also have Chatuska, looking forward for a profound time. Harshijit, thank you very much for joining. Dean is asking a question. I wish to ask what made to create the brand Women in Management? What's the turning point which made you to empower women? Now, today's topic is not about empowering women, but then I think it would be unfair if we don't answer this question.
Okay, can I answer it, Amita?
Please, yes, yes, we have to answer.
Okay. For me, empowerment of women is not a business, or not something that I do it as a responsibility, because I didn't have that empowerment when I failed in life, right? And I have to find my own way to come up in life. If you ask me what I failed in everything in my life. So I found myself to empower me for the sake of my children. So what I realize is, a person, when I look back, I realize is what made me to be empowering women, because I didn't want any woman to go through what I went through. It is, if someone asks me, it is only financially and physically. No, the mentally what I went through should not be someone's pain ever. So that was the reason for me to get into women empowerment. But that empowerment word is not in the dictionary. I do not know why they use empowerment related to women. I think empowering human beings is more important than just empowering a woman. I do not agree on just empowering a woman. Empowering a woman means you have to ensure that woman go back and fit to that family, where she helps her family to get back to the life. This is what I do. I just not taking a woman out of the family or a corporate and telling that you are great, you can do that, you don't need a man, you don't need your family. No, because I know the pain of not having someone to stand on me. I know the pain of going home alone and bearing every responsibility all alone. So I don't want that to be happen to any woman. That was my turning point. Not to give the pain what I went through to another woman. That's why I created Women in Management, and also I created Women in Management because we see empowerment in a very grassroots level. No, Empowerment is from the top to the bottom, not bottom to the top. So there are a lot of corporates, women and men who need empowerment, not just financially, to make a voice, to stand for their position, to go for their career achievements, to be successful businessmen, businesswomen, to be a happy wife, to be a great mother. So it's empowerment word is not only for business, careers, or it's a human empowerment, which I'm doing.
So what I feel is maybe there's certain amount of biasness that has creeped into the word empowerment. So people think totally a different thing when you hear empowerment. Thank you very much. I think you are redefining the word empowerment with your story. So we have Tushara who says great job, and we have Sophia joining from South Africa. I think, Sophia, for you, whatever you are planning, even this story, you should be actually be in touch with Dr. Sulochana for your future projects. And thank you very much for joining from other countries as well. So I think the question was well answered. So let's get into this hitting the rock bottom. Uh, Now, people tend to think hitting the rock bottom is when you are really done with your financials. You know, you have no money, or maybe when you don't have your job anymore, you think it's hitting the rock bottom. So, uh, do you think that hitting the rock bottom has other variations other than losing a job or losing your income?
Of course, hitting a rock bottom is not only financially. If you lose a child, it's a hit in the rock bottom. If you lose your job, it's a hit in the rock. If you lose your family, if you're going through, if you're car, you just imagine you're losing your whole life which you created for you. It's losing. It's actually hitting the rock bottom, and it cannot be tell someone because it's very internal and emotional to, and it can be very personalized to you, right? And also losing someone whom you thought that going to be with you forever, right? And also someone being betrayed you, that is something that you can never, because in my life I think betrayed is the only thing that made who Sulochana is today, right? And also hitting the rock bottom is if you keep out the financial side, losing your own personality, getting yourself shadowed by someone, right? And also not getting respect, and mentally you're down. And also something that you want to achieve, you have dreamed for so many years, but still you have not achieved. So you feel like you're always in the bottom. And I have today, when I did the counseling in the morning, one lady came and said, I have never been a best for anybody. In my family I was second, and when I got married I was not being good enough, and now my son has got into a affair, so now I become the second person. So that also is something you really hit. So I always say, find your inner self where you can get up. You can be a rubber ball where you hit the bottom and you stand again, right? When you use a rubber ball and you hit it hard, you go high. If you use a plastic ball, how hard you put it, it stays there. So
Not bounce
that's
back.
where you make the decision.
Okay. Okay. Be a rubber ball, but not be a plastic ball. So when you hit the bottom, you can actually bounce back. I mean, I like that metaphor. Thank you very much. So looks like you have hit the rock bottom many a times, but then you have been able to bounce back. That's what you mean. Yeah. So
Yes.
what can someone do uh, when someone feels now the other question that I need to ask you, how do you know whether it is the rock bottom or who knows whether there's more to go below? So sometimes for no reason you might, for the slightest thing you might feel, okay, I have hit the rock bottom. Can you give a little explanation to that, with how do you know whether you have actually hit the rock bottom, whether it's a fake rock bottom?
So I'll give you an example from my life. So I got a baby. My son was my honeymoon baby. So I
Okay.
still remember I didn't know what is pregnancy. So I was actually diagnosed for yellow fever, and I was drinking medicine for yellow fever. Then they said, "No, you're pregnant." right? So you can understand my knowledge about pregnancy and all those life I didn't know. So when I used to do a lot of painting on these curtain. I was a bed sheets, and for hotels I did a lot of painting on these. What do you call these? I do not know the interior decor, right? So
Yeah, yeah,
I always sit like this, and I did painting, and I was a very small made lady because I was very thin, not fat like that at that age. So when my son was born, I still remember I never cried. So doctor was asking me why you're not crying. So I said, no, I have not seen a childbirth, so I want to see what's happening, right? So that kind of a person I was. Then when the child was born, within 10 minutes, a pediatrician came and said, your son will never walk, right? And I never forget that day. I thought it was our first grandson for the whole two families, and I felt like why I'm living. So I got down. It was not a cesarean; it was a normal, and then the St. Michael's didn't have lift, so I had to walk up to see the child, my baby. So the nurse said, "You cannot walk. You just delivered." I said, "No, I want to see my son." So when I went there and saw that my son's legs were not normal, I thought why it happened to me, and I thought everything was over in my life. So I asked doctor, what should I be doing? Doctor said, you have two options. You can bring it to a private hospital where I can do the same, but I don't guarantee that the expert knowledge is there. But you can bring him to general hospital where you will not feel comfortable, but I can say somehow he will walk one day. Um, so I was just 23. I didn't know how to feed a child. I didn't know anything, and I took the baby with my mother. And the best part, my mother and my parents and everyone said, don't show the baby to anyone because his legs are not normal. So they started hiding. So I was a young mother. I didn't know what to do. My life was apart. When I started going, I have never been to general hospital. And when I saw the children who were bringing them, I realized that I was not the bad person. My child can walk. That day I decided, it was just 3 days when they started putting plasters and helped him. And it took 6 months. And today my son is 23 years, right? He doesn't have any issue with his legs. So it took me, and there was no operation because I believed I'm going to cure him because I thought that I was not, it's not my worst this thing because I saw the other children. So that was when till we see someone struggle, we think our struggle is the worst struggle. That's why they say when you have a
good.
problem, don't focus on the problem. Focus on other things. Then you will see so many open doors, so many opportunities. I started focusing on the children who had those other issues where the parents didn't have financial to help the child. Where my child had that all the opportunity. So I
Yeah,
felt that day, I did. I the rock bottom I thought on the day where my parents thought that my son is not. That was not true, because my attitude changed. My son was okay. So everything I think what you think, and don't think that your problem is big. When you have a problem, go and help another person. Your thing will settle.
yeah. So that's a great lesson. I mean, I'm sure at that time you actually hit the rock bottom. I mean, when your doctor says that your son will never walk, that's definitely
Yes.
rock bottom. But then if you really look at some of the problems that the society or individuals are facing, as you very correctly said, you should not think this is the worst thing. Maybe you can look around and you might see, you are not so worse compared to the others. So we have Nilam joining us and saying hi to us. Nilam, hi, thank you for joining. And we have okay, Tushara saying you're a great inspiration, Dr. Sulochana. Definitely, yes. I'm so glad that I brought you in because sometimes, especially when you look at 2020, especially during the pandemic, sometimes the only thing that people lost were their income or maybe their jobs. If you look at their health, okay, health is there, opportunity is there. And uh, would you also like to compare that era and today, when someone hit the rock bottom? I mean, the support system available today, or the knowledge and whatever is available today versus that era, uh, doctor.
So I will tell, because I do not speak for other people. So I'll tell from my this thing what happened. So as I told you, I was a young mother and all that. I didn't know anything about marriage life, because I still remember there was a 31st night dance where I was 6-7 months pregnant, and I won the baila competition, and all the papers said a pregnant woman won the baila competition, and my mother got a heart attack, right? So I was that kind of a lady. So, but when I was 27 years, when my marriage was not going to work the way it was going to be a happy family or anything, everything was breaking out. So when I was divorced in like 30, I think 31 year, 30, 31, when I officially got my divorce, I gave my resignation to my company,
Employer.
right? So
Yeah.
employer. So my boss asked me, you have no job, you have two kids, you have no husband, how we are going to live? I said, I have no idea how I'm going to live, because I wanted to be a mother where my children will not miss their father, right? So when I came home, my mother asked me, how you are going, because at that time my father has passed away. My only strength was my father. I was very close to my father. I was never very close to my mother, because my mother didn't see me as a lady, even though I love her and she loves me. My father always appreciated and loved me, and he was supporting me. So I said, I do not have a job, but I'd rather be a mother, because I couldn't be a good wife, maybe, because, in life, when you fail, even your husband did something wrong, a woman is being named, right? So that happened to me. I didn't do anything, but blame came to me. But I always say that my mother-in-law stood by me and still stand by me. That's something I was blessed. So when I came home and I sat and I was wondering, looking at my two kids who were very young, going to a good schools, was wondering how I'm going to pay the school fees, how I'm going to pay the band fees, and how I'm going to run my uh, the household. I didn't have anything, only my savings, which I never thought about it. And sometimes you give everything, you buy everything to someone's other name, and you lose us, right? So that happened to me a lot. I thought, okay, I have studied, I have the education background, and I have network, I have people knows me. I'll try my skills. And at that time, there was no entrepreneurship loans. There was no, like, people call and say there's entrepreneurship training, come and learn. There's no business planning programs, nothing, right? So you are in the sea, you have to swim or you have to die. So that's what
Right.
happened to me. Um, I started. When I started it, if you ask me, I have been successful.
No, before
No,
that, before Dr. Sulochana, before that, now when you came home, you were looking at your two kids, no income. How are you going to pay their school fees? I mean, kids have so many things to be done. Now, comparing someone who has just lost a job, or gone through some bad relationship or whatever at a particular time. Sometimes these days we also hear about suicides, being unable to face it on their own. Now, what was your thought process at that time? I can see that you have looked at solutions, but then were you not feeling like, I'm helpless, I'm lonely, or anything like that?
oh, you asking me that? I can say, when I came home, everyone blamed me. Started crying. I was very young, because from the age of 25, I've been crying for something I never did, right? So I've been telling, people were telling me what to do. People were telling me how to face it. No one gave me an opportunity to tell how I'm feeling, what I'm thinking, right? So there were times that I wanted to kill myself. I did attempt 3 times. For some reason, I couldn't, right? So there was times because um, the bad thing which happened to me was, I think that should never happen to any woman or a mother. When the final decision was given, because it was a mutual, because there was nothing to prove against me, so we had a mutual
Agree.
separation.
Yeah.
When the wording was given, unfortunately, my child's principal was presented there for one of his cases. So the Sri Lankan education system is so good, they do not gossip, they go and just put a notice, right? So what happened was my child became a victim of a
Of
separated family, and he was being how mentally putting him down, and all these went through. So I had a choice whether I'm going to think about my life and cry, or whether I'm going to look at my son and daughter and think they didn't come to the world because they wanted, I brought them. So that
true.
was my final this thing that I came out. But I cried, I shouted at people, I I for nearly for 15 years, I ensured that no one come close to me, right? Even my school friends, I kept them distant. I never allowed anyone to come near me because I never trusted one, and I didn't want people to think what they wanted. So it was a very lonely life. I didn't have anyone. When I lost the job, when I started my business, even my family didn't want to support me. I still, this thing, my sister was, even she shouted, she was the one younger, she was the one who stood by me. So I was a lonely person. But that's why I said, my loneliness, my failures, I didn't, sometimes you become a victim without being doing wrong. I was that kind of person. That was the reason for me to be who I am, to support people, and to never to tell anyone what they spoke to me, because I knew that small thing what happened there really ruined my son. But thank God I was able to rectify, I was able to stand by him, and I was able to bring him back to the life. So I'm on that. So that's how I am.
So, additional note, Dr. Sulochana, when are you going to write a book about your life?
When I reach 50, I'll be putting out Untold Story of Sulu, a woman in the women's world. I have been already said, because it's very difficult to be a woman in women's world also. It's not
I
about
know.
male. I'm not saying
Yeah.
that male are all good, no, but also women are not all good also. So you have to have both in this thing. So they think when I speak about women that I hate men. I love men. That's the truth. If you ask from my school friends, they would say I never had a girlfriend. All my friends were boyfriends, and
Boyfriends.
my best friend has being also boyfriend. Now people calls this boyfriend. That time I didn't know what boyfriend. I all were friends, right? So that's
Yeah.
how I was brought up.
So, connecting back to what happened to you when you hit the rock bottom, is it why you also do counseling in your very busy life today?
Yes, because in Sri Lankan system, when you go for a divorce, you are sent for a government counseling. I still remember. I never forget that day. I told you I'm not this fat or this. So I was very thin, very young. So I wore, because everyone said I didn't know how to wear a sari, right? So they said you have to wear. So I wore osari. I still remember that osari, and I went for this counseling. Maybe I was looking good and beautiful. That woman who was there said, even you look beautiful or nice, if your husband doesn't want to, and if your husband says you so wrong, no point of you being his wife. And I was like, what is this called counseling, right? Because I didn't know who she was, but she was so having anger against me. I didn't know why. So I was very young, and she never allowed me to speak on my side. So
She was
that day,
judgmental. She was
she was very
judgmental.
judgmental, because I thought counseling was you speak, someone listen, right? You don't give solution. That day I thought, yes, one day I'm going to be a different counselor. I didn't know what was counsel. So I started learning counseling. Because I told you, all my whatever I do today is what happened to me, that I don't want it to be repeated to another human being, because
Yeah,
that pain no one understands.
I know. So it's great. Sometimes what happens is people learn lessons and then they keep it to themselves. Here, you went through something and then you decided to make sure that no one else would go through that again. And I mean, I know you have a very tight and a very busy schedule, but you are helping people by doing counseling, maybe in the evenings, in the night, by traveling sometimes. So that's how you need to be helping. So we have few people who are uh, talking to us. Hi, Manjula. Thank you very much for joining us as usual. Gayan Maldenia, we should help others all the time. Great, inspirational. And yeah, so Vijita has commented, Tushara has commented. And then Gayan also says, when you hit rock bottom only, your fullest potential comes out. You want to say something about that, Dr. Sulochana?
Yeah, if I would have been married, I wouldn't know that I can do this, because I was not a person who speaks in this thing, and no one actually gave respect to me at home actually, because they thought I'm like a playful, so they always listen to my sister, right?
Yes.
Uh, because I'm not saying it's good, because I had failures in life on marriage and all that. Then I found myself. I found why I'm living for. I think that was the reason when you really hit your rock bottom. When my son had that issue in school, I started learning child psychology. And when my one son's school teacher said, "Your son is not going to pass your O levels, and no point of making him to sit for O levels," I made him the best performing child within a 2 years, right? So that, because every time when you hit the rock bottom, I look at the big picture and think about it. That was my potential, because I was not in school. I was one of the most naughtiest and most notorious person, where I actually gave a hard time for teachers also, right? So then I learned about child psychology, right? Because I wanted to help. Then when I was judging by a counselor, I learned about doing counseling, marriage counseling, because I know the pain of losing a family, losing a marriage, and all that. So I learned about that. So every time I hit rock bottom, my potentials were coming, the skills were within me. It was never been outside. That's why I said you have to fail in your life to know about yourself. Even when
True.
you're running a 100-meter run, you don't go forward, you put your one of the legs back, right, and one in front,
Yeah.
and you bend and you hold the ground, because the ground is the one you give the strength, right?
True.
You don't look the sky and run it. So that's where you get your strength. Inner strength comes when you really hardly hit it. So if you have not hit it, don't go and try to get yourself hit. Don't do that. But learn, look at your inner self and see where you find who you are today. That can be where you were hit actually badly. That's how because I was not a good cook. I can cook very well. People are eating now, right? I, so those things are coming out. The pandemic made me a good cook. I was never a gardener. I garden now. So
Oh, okay.
things do that.
Great, great. I mean, I'm so happy you have come out of all those difficult situations and then you have become an inspiration, an example to anyone who who feel that they are going through a bad patch, uh, or they have hit the rock bottom. I think there's a lot that we can learn. You have. So there's someone, Tushara is asking, are you doing counseling online? So
Yes, I do.
you do, yeah. Okay. So then the other thing is, I also want to ask this one now, because people have lost jobs, or for some reason people also, I think there's a little bit of a trend these days, do something on your own. So people leave their corporate jobs, or maybe they have lost their jobs and they try to start something. Now starting something on your own, it's not easy. It's nothing comes to you on a you know it doesn't appear. You got to work hard and there are a lot of failures. And you are someone, I also would like to actually showcase it here, right? You are the managing director, Institute of Women in Management. You are the brand owner, Plenty with Sulo. I think that's a YouTube channel. And then you are the brand owner of Top 50 Professional and Career Women Awards, Women Awards, and chief editor of 50 magazine. I mean, I know inside all these, there are so many other projects. For an example, I know inside Women in Management, there's a project going called Single Mother. So, I mean, not everything is written here. So, now, none of these would have come at once. It didn't appear. You had to work hard, and there were failures. So, this is for those entrepreneurs and who are thinking, okay, I'm gonna move out of corporate life, or I have lost my job. I want to start something, and they may hit rock bottom again, or they have already hit the rock bottom. So, to those aspiring entrepreneurs, what is your advice, especially relating to hitting the rock bottom?
Yeah. So a lot of Sri Lankan entrepreneurs starts with financial aspects, like they get trains with how to handle management finance. First thing you have to do is you have to shift your thinking from a corporate world to entrepreneur. If your inner thinking is not being shifted, you cannot be an entrepreneur. That because you're going to be the leader, you're going to make decisions, you're going to be accountable, and also you are going to fail or success also belong to you, and no one is going to take the blame. That is the first thing. Because in corporate, someone gives you tea, someone sweep your floor, someone clean your table. This is not going to happen. Everything is done by you. So first shift your mind from the corporate employee to an entrepreneur employer. That is the shift you have to do it. You cannot do it overnight. A lot of Sri Lankans I have seen, they are not looking at the psychology side of an entrepreneur or a startup. They just look at the business plan, marketing plan, the production, the market, and the branding. That is
Yes.
a theory and execution of something you're doing. You cannot be successful unless you psychologically change all this thing, right? So if you have already hit, sit down and think, how are you looking at, are you using your left and the right brain? Because that is where you have to shift. When you are an employee, you are only doing the routine work. When you are an employee, you have to have logical thinking and shifting. That really needed. So the second thing is, if you do not start with a loan at all, because loans are not for startup, or for you have to take a loan after you ensuring that your company is making money, that to pay the loan interest, right? Otherwise, what you are paying as a loan is what you are earning, which is not making. For an entrepreneur to make a profit, net profit, it takes at least 1 year. Till then, you are getting money which you have already
Invest.
invested. So
Yeah.
those things you had, those are not theory; those are practical. This thing. So I think that is where you have to. Why Sri Lankan entrepreneurs fail? As I said, they do a business plan. They go to a bank. They go to an investor, and they say, "This is my plan. Give me my." Then they work so hard to pay someone, not to pay ourselves. Start with what you have. Start with your skills. I started with my skill. I didn't have a single amount of money in my bank. Start with what your first investor is your customer. I still remember Sanasa Bank Samadhan when I want to do an institute. I went and told her my plan, and she said, Suru, you have it all been planned, but you do not have anything physically, but you know how to execute. And she was the first person who gave me a training in her institute for women. That's where I started, because I was so good on getting on there. I was not a marketer. I was not a brand person. It's how, when you are skilled enough, competent enough, confident enough, you can sell anything. That's what I learned. That's my marketing style. Maybe I'm wrong because I'm not a marketer, but this is how I have come across.
Maybe, whether you are wrong or right, you have proven that you are right. So, thank you very much. There's a lot here. So, you are saying is, look at your skills. Maybe it's a time to look at your skills and take a stock of your skills. Yeah. So, We have Nilmini Kodituakku who has written a lengthy comment. I will read the comment. It's too long for me to pull it to the screen. Hi, Dr. Sulochana. When you are saying this, I see myself all over here. No respect from family boys, gets all the attention, and zero help from my teachers. And I was the last person in school exams and tried and got 8A and 1B in O level and gave up in A level and started career in marketing and become successful, but I found a supportive husband who cares and motivates. So it's amazing. I mean, later on, instead of giving up, they have somehow found light at the end of the tunnel by working hard. Great. So I would also want to ask you now, you do this plenty with Sulochana, right? Now, sometimes people think that you need somebody's approval to do it. We live in a society like that. Now, when they don't have the approval of the society, also sometimes they feel, okay, I have hit the rock bottom now because the society doesn't approve. You're not doing anything illegal, but then you think, say, for an example, I mean, I do this talk show, right? I know this is not being approved by everybody, but at least LinkedIn approved me to go LinkedIn live. So for me, that's enough. So because I am a strong personality, but not everyone is strong. Now, let me ask you this way, from a society's point of view: who said that you could be a talk show host on YouTube?
No one said. And before I come to YouTube, I actually did a program. I did a TV program 2012. When I took it to a lot of TV cars, they said this is not a successful one. But today, all the TV program have women shows after I produced the one which I brought women. But when I wanted to do that, I remember everyone said, Sulo, you are dark. You don't have that voice because all the host has that sweet voice, sweet. I do not have. I'm Arab. People, when first impression of me, they speak about first impression. First impression of me, Vijita is here. Everyone gets scared of me. I do not know the reason, right? I have never gone into my bank, but when I go to the bank, even that bank, I have never done anything. So my voice is very rough, not like a lady voice, and I don't talk the sugar-coated words. I just say what simply what this thing, not to hurt, but I do not want to say something that I never mean it, right? So I was not that kind of person. So why I wanted to do a talk show is I didn't had anyone.
So
I
Dr.
said,
Sulochana, Dr. Sulochana, so the TV stations and those mainstream media didn't see that stereotype uh, woman in you to actually do a real talk show. So they were very politely, ignoring you.
they ignored me, but they took my program. I gave a beautiful girl, lady, to do the TV show. So it was
Okay.
successful, right? Fair, beautiful, someone, right? So I'm not that kind of person. And someone told me also once that, people who are cursed only people who has the black skin. So I said, okay, I love black skin. I don't like fair people. Not that I do not like it, but I feel I'm okay. I'm happy with this skin. So why I started my own thing is I thought, okay, no one will take me as a host. I don't have that look. Let me do my own show, not for anything, because I see they bring so many good people and asking stupid questions. So I
Yeah.
thought, let me ask questions that related to someone who can inspire someone rather than asking what you ate today, how did you did shopping, and how is your family life, like those things. Just ask, how did you fail, right? How did you become successful? What happened when these people rejected you? When this happened, how did you face it? I wanted to bring Sri Lankan personality, but when I started it, it was I thought people will not come. Believe me, I still respect one person in my life. That is Kasturi. When I told Kasturi I have this, I want you and Sandra to come. And I said, you know that I'm not fluent in this. I do not have log. And Kasturi is so beautiful and Sandra also beautiful. And I said, I do not have a sponsor. I'm paying it and all that. They said, Sulu, let's do it and see. Even people laugh at, we'll do it. That
Wow.
was, you always have to have supporter who believes in you. That was my support which was given. And 2019 today, this month I'm completing 50 episodes, And when I did the 12th episode, Daily Mirror called me, Rishni called and said, Sulo, why don't you do it on Daily Mirror and Lankadeep online? So I asked them, do you think I? They said, no. Your show is so good because you're asking different questions. So I realized this. You know what? Let the world say you're not good. If you want to do something, do it when your intentions are good, when you're not competing with anyone, when you want to do something good, you will be blessed and the path will be there. Don't ever compete with them. Don't ever copy anyone because you're copying only the exact. You don't know what is inside that person, why that
True.
person made. So I always say, don't copy Sulo because Sulo had a background to do it. Sulo is a crazy woman, right? Because I had things to do it. I had reason to do it. So do things which is related to you, which is the reason for you to do it, and always be authentic. Don't be the second person who copies something and do it good. Do it your own thing. If it fail, your own thing. Don't worry about it. So I'm not scared if tomorrow women in management fail. I'm not scared because you know why? Because it's mine. If failure is mine, success is mine. I'm not fair. So I think that I will start new thing. So that's why when women in management reach 10 years, I started new generation chapter that is for youth. So every 10 years I have brought something new with my experience.
Superb. I mean, so going by the standards that you mentioned, I think I am doing things also right because I think I asked the right questions. I was just, looking at myself. Am I fit into what you said? Yes, I think I'm asking the right questions. So that's good, and I need to also show this to my 11-year-old son, who also has his own talk show on YouTube, a channel. So that is also important. Younger generation should learn from people like you, especially about what you said about failures. How to learn from the failures is important thing. Would you also like to talk about your work outside Colombo? Now, all these glamorous five-star hotels, photographs, on Facebook and all that. But I'm sure there's life beyond the Colombo circles. Would you like to say a few things about, what you do
Yeah.
outside Colombo in the village, in the rural areas, please?
So as I told you, I have a reason, but you have to have someone who will support you. So as from somewhere I found one of trusted friend, that is Nilam, who actually believed in my passion, who to date has gone everywhere with me, who speaks in Sinhalese and Tamil and English, which has helped me. So why I went to rural, if you ask Vijita, I've been a very terrible speaker in Sinhalese also, right? Because not that we are not Sinhalese, we studied in Colombo Convent School, and right, so we know Sinhalese, but that real Sinhalese was not good. So she used to laugh at me, but now I can teach her also. I'm very good in Sinhalese, right? So what happened was, I started. When I do programs, I realized that it's not this Colombo. Sri Lanka is huge, right? For me, Sri Lanka is very huge because
Yeah.
it's not, people started reaching me from everywhere, and I thought, why I'm sitting in Colombo? So I started going here and there and meeting women. Then I realized, that I told you, till you see, I thought I was the only woman who was divorced. So I never told, even my family told not to tell anyone related to my father's family also that I'm divorced. So I was not invited to weddings, parties. I was not taken for family trips. I was not being there. So what happened was, when I realized there are so many single mothers, divorcees, and all that, I thought, why should I be hiding? So I started telling everyone, no, I'm a divorce, I'm single mother. And if you ask me whether I was very comfortable, no, I got calls, I got other things, everything. And there are a lot of love affairs. People love to love you when you're no one. And if you ask me when I was tempted, I was very tempted. I was young, right? I wanted to have someone with me. But if you ask me today whether I'm not to tempt, not at all. Now I realize that those are things that if you start loving yourself, that's good. But have someone in Sri Lanka, single mothers or single women, if you date a man, that's a crime, right? You can't. If you are a single man, you can date because He's a man, he needs someone. Woman doesn't need. That's a theory in Sri Lanka. And yeah, so I realized that. So I started going out station. I started spend timing with them. I started listening to them. I started doing programs of building their confidence, helping them to dream again, helping them to live again. Then I met women who are suicide victims. So I told them about my story. So I was able to bring them back. And even recently, last Saturday, I had a program in Colombo. One lady from somewhere came to there and she was crying. I said, "Why?" No, she was about typing a letter to her children that she's going to commit suicide. And then suddenly, this thing came about us, about my name, and she has called my office number, and she has. Then that's how she has known me. She spoke to me and she said, "I want to see you." So I said, "You come here." So then she said, "Now I want to live again." So it's not that I did a magic. It's just I said, your life is so good because I was there. So that's the life I brought it, and I don't regret at all going. And even tomorrow I'm going to Hantane, from Hantane to Mahiyangane to Ampar. I'm back in Sunday, back in Colombo. I think that's my life is, and I'm happy what I'm doing. I enjoy what I'm doing.
Yeah, amazing. I'm so grateful for you for whatever you are doing. And then I'm so happy that, I brought you here, and thank you very much for agreeing to come here. I mean, you are adding so much of value here to our fan base here. Because people don't come out and talk problems. I mean, go to their social media handles, go to Instagrams, go to Facebook. I mean, all the best lives are there, but then what they go through, and sometimes they don't also have anyone to go and talk about this, as you very correctly said, because that becomes gossip next minute. You know, whether it is school. I mean, I have a story. I have this lady who comes here to my home once a week to help me, and she has a little hyperactive son. And once the son's school has told uh, maybe a teacher, no point in keeping him for grade five scholarship. He has some psychological problem. You go and refer it to uh, the a doctor, and she took her to a government children hospital. The pediatrician wrote a letter and gave and said, "Tell the teacher to write down and give whatever she is noticing." Very smart pediatrician, and the teacher couldn't give a letter, and that child got through the exam with 174 marks. I'm very poor lady. So I mean, imagine when the society knows that someone is vulnerable, someone is powerless. Sometimes they force on them with so many things. Doesn't matter whether it's the kid or the lady or whatever. So thank you so much for whatever you are doing in outstation. So we have Kumari Singh who answer, "Love your power and confidence." And then the beauty is she's giving it to everybody. And I mean, I was with some of those people last week when you invited me to do a personal branding session there. I realized what you do. So any final thoughts? We have about a minute to finish the session. You want to give any advice to men? I
There's no
know.
men and women. I would say like this, you know, just as a human, before you love someone, just be happy with yourself. And don't look for recommendations or approval from others, right? Uh, and if you are a good friend, don't hurt a friend because it hurts a lot. Don't betray. If you are a spouse, the world can love you any much, but the spouse is the one who is going to be next to you. So don't hurt that person, and do enjoy your family life, because you know why when we get married, we are so busy of building a house, buying a car, giving education, we forget to live that happy life. We don't go out, we don't have using the word, we don't have sex, right? Most of the counseling which comes, if you go to the tall, what's the issue? They have not slept for 3 months or 4 months. That is the issue. The other things are coming. So those are the things. And don't look for, in your husband you won't find your father, in your wife you don't find your mother, right? Two different personalities. And Don't look for perfections because women want perfect. Don't try to
So,
be a great mother.
yeah. So, one last question. I mean, I'll add also that, money also plays a role in life. So, money and happiness. You want to add
There's
anything
three
also there?
things in life that happiness brings. One is money, that is where your job or business is there. Other one is your relationships, right? Your family, your boyfriend, your husband, your wife, all that. Third one is myself. This is like a rectangle where you have the three things. You can
Yeah.
have money. If you don't have a family and you have lost yourself, you don't have happiness. You can have yourself and your family. If you don't have money, you don't have happiness. You can have money and your family, but if you have lost yourself, you don't have happiness. Have these three. Have money,
Okay.
earn money, have someone to be loved, go home or speak or have a friend, and don't ever lose yourself. These three can bring happiness.
Thank you so much. We also have Chaturika saying hi to us, truly inspiring Dr. Sulochana. So, for our fans here, I mean, sometimes when you come back to LinkedIn and Facebook, it's difficult to find this video because I post almost every day. So after 7 days, if you want to come, you have to go down and find the seventh one. So, but you can go to Amithe Kamage's YouTube channel. This video is there, and then I'll see whether I could extract some of the key advices from this video and repost back again on my Facebook and LinkedIn for whoever has missed this show. So, Dr. Sulochana, thank you so very much for inspiring our audience over here. And then I haven't heard, probably more than half of those what you just said about yourself and how you came out of those situations. I haven't heard. I didn't know. So, and it's a new experience for me also. And I'm going to watch your YouTube channel. This is also an invitation to our audience here. Please go to YouTube and go to how does it go, Dr. Sulochana? It goes as
Plenty with just plenty with solo. But you don't see a
plenty,
beautiful woman there. Remember that.
plenty with Sulo. I think if you have got inspired and if you learned a lot today, I think you are going to learn more over there when you go to her YouTube channel. Go subscribe and hit the notification button for future videos. How often do you post videos over there?
So every 2 weeks you see a new video. So it's
Okay.
from I interview men, I interview children, I interview women, I interview diplomats, all the people.
Wow. So it's a mix of everything. So great. So thank you very much. Before we wind up, we always give a book courtesy of Pick a Book. So I also invite you to go to www.pickabook.club and check what they do, read a book and present. And today's book has been, I mean, I give away a book for someone who made a good comment. It's not a competition, so there are no winners. But Dean Nias, you asked this question about women in management. What was the triggering point? Why did you start? I mean, that was a very good question which I wanted to ask, and you asked it before me. So you win a book courtesy of Pick a Book. It will be a self-help book. Please drop your address and contact details. We will courier you the book. So, Dr. Sulochana, thank you very much. And to all my fans from LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube, thank you very much for joining with us. See you on next Thursday. Dr. Sulochana, you want to say goodbye to your audience here?
Yes, thank you so much, Amita, and all the audience. Thank you so much. And I hope that you'll find the happiness, not
Yeah,
success. Find the
yes.
happiness.
Okay. Thank you and see you soon.
See you.
Good night.